Thank you. I tried very much to make it without reading, but I think I need to read certain portions. So bear with me.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to ask you all to try and recall your wedding card, how it looked like. In 1980, January, I designed my own card. Now, the front is always very good, very attractive. But when you open the card, the left inside, this is what I wrote. Susan Manier on the top left. That's my wife's name, maiden name. And on to the right, I wrote my name, Gopinathan Menon. Two lines below, I wrote cordially invite. And then a further two lines below was a thick, long line. And then followed the date of the temple wedding and the date of the church wedding and time, of course. But the first card that I wrote was this: Mr. and Mrs. N.S. Menon. Who are they? My parents. So I think I was the first guy to write a card to invite my parents to a wedding. There are good reasons for it. Let me let me talk about a bit about my father. Immigrant from Kerala. And as a typical Malayali, they always want their children to either be a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. I mean, I think most people would like to do that. So he had a lot of ambitions for me. But as I grew up, he got into financial difficulties. So when I started national service, I was all supposed to go to university to NUS in 3 years. I mean, I started in my service in 70. In 1973, I was supposed to go to NUS. I couldn't get to go because of financial difficulties. And being the eldest, I had to wait until my two sisters get married and my younger brother is set in place before I can even think of mine. So that's my father. So 3 months before January 1980, I brought my wife to be to meet my parents. Well, let me tell you, when I think about it, the scene, I still feel the warmth, the anger that he had when he looked at me and said, I do not know which pariah family you're getting involved with. That was a dagger. And that made me look at Susan, grab her in her hands, and we walked out. I walked out of my home. And that's how my mother was quiet. That's what my father was. Now, in January 80, before I started my card, I had to go and speak to Susan's parents. Now, there's a Eurasian, my wife is a Tamil Eurasian. She's Catholic. And I had to, the Eurasian tradition says, go and read a letter to my in-laws, parents-in-law. So I did that to ask permission, to seek permission to get married. And one question that came up from them was, so when are you getting married? And then I had to make a date. I had to decide. And usually for the Eurasian, they say 6 months after you declare that in your speech. So it was in July. Well, this month. Well, that's it. I had no home, nobody to really fall back on. But then came this guy called Sydney. Sydney is my wife's elder brother, closer to him. He came to me and said, Menon, you and Susan are going to live with us. We are going to take you in. You know, that was the moment that I felt I met someone who will back me. A little bit of Sydney, I realized after that, because he went through a similar situation. He's from a Catholic family. He got He liked the girl directly living opposite him in Serangoon Gardens, but they were Muslim family, Pakistani family. Well, then he went through and she went through the same sort of turmoil. But the Eurasians are more accepting and they managed it. So he really understood me. So we went to live with him. So the first 4 years of my marriage life was with him. I had another difficulty because 1 year before I met my parents, or we met my parents, my dad had asked me to sign with him a purchase of a flat, a private flat. I had to give up that name. I did not know then, but by taking my name off, I couldn't apply for HDB for 5 years. So when Sydney took us in, wow, that it was like somebody who really is there for me, And soon, and he had a child at that time. Soon his child became technically our first child. And then my son came along, and I was in the military. And 3 years, every 3 to 4 months, I will go away for 5 to 6 weeks overseas for training. And he was the one and his wife who took care of my family, brought them to school, medical care, anything that they wanted. So if there's anyone who was my back and who is still having my back, is Sydney. He is now our children's extended parents. So this is my story, and when I'm sorry, but I'm glad we are looking at the screen and you can't see my tears as well. It is painful to think about my late parents who did not agree. Just to let you know, my father never visited us in our home at all. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for that heartfelt story.